Soulful shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, just some soulful shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this be myself, so hear me. Woo! I mean, like, we can pull that clown shit away. There's some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah. It's in their bones, the thugs in harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
Yo, people, what's going on, man? It's G. We're back in the building. We're back in the flesh, you know. Enjoyed some time off, you know, for my birthday, but we're back, man. We're back to making some videos. And you know, over the last couple of days, I was thinking about something, and of course, you guys can see, you know, the caption, the title of this video, what we're here to talk about, and that's of course Ivan Toney. I've seen quite a few people speaking about him, and I said, you know what, let me just give you my 2 cents, you know, on the whole situation, you know, surrounding, you know, Toney and, you know, his move to Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, he's gone for big bucks and etc. etc. So, you know, I wanted to just have my little say on that. Yeah, I feel like it's been quite an interesting topic, of course, with his move. So yeah, man, we're here to chime in. First and foremost, though, guys, please make sure you are smashing that like button, sharing and subscribing. By the way, big up to everybody who has wished me a happy birthday again. The love, yo, the love was big, man. The love was big, man. So yeah, man, I tried to get back. I tried to reply to as many of you as I possibly could on Twitter, on Instagram, in videos, whatever, man. So listen, again, big up to every single one of you, man. I proper appreciate it. I felt the love, man. I felt the love, yeah. So yeah, man. But as always, guys, the usual jargon, you know, we're back to business now. So yeah, share this out, like the video, and drop your thoughts as well. Most importantly, I really want to know what the people think. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, I've seen the podcasters and that, I've seen them talk about it, and you know, they talk about this whole thing, you know, in terms of you know, Ivan Toney's move and of course motivations, and of course we'll get into, you know, that side of things. But I just want to hear what, you know, the people, you know, kind of have to say. Obviously, you know, completes his move to Al Ahly. The Saudi club signs the striker in a deal worth about $53 million, give or take. I think that's what it was. Fabrizio says it's around about a £40 million package. Medical was done and dusted. Of course, we've seen that now he has officially, you know, made that move, man. But I think, yo, like it is a bit mad. Don't get it twisted. It definitely is a bit mad. It's a big move, you know, for someone, you know, like Ivan Toney, you know, moving out there, especially when, you know, he spoke a little bit before about, you know, if he was going to leave Brentford, or sorry, when he wanted to leave Brentford, he did come out. I remember he did that interview. Is it the Diary of a CEO? I can't remember if that's the same one, or maybe it's a different name. But yeah, I remember he did that interview with that guy. I can't remember his name. Does all these kind of interviews, and he spoke about, you know, moving on then. And then of course, when he came back from his ban, you know, after being banned for betting and etc., he then spoke quite a lot about, you know, potentially leaving Brentford, which I know at the time people were a bit like, rah, how can you speak about, you know, your club and, you know, retete, which I kind of understood at the time. I kind of understood. Obviously, I could see that side of it, but I was also a bit like, that's just his nature. And to be honest with you, the way, in my opinion, that Thomas Frank kind of handled that whole situation, for me, I was like, you know what? He's handling it pretty well. He understands. He's not like, I feel like sometimes, yeah, it's the patronizing thing. I get it from some fans. Sometimes we are emotionally connected to the football club. And of course, we want the best players, you know, staying at our football club. We don't want them to leave, regardless of whether we know it's better for them, you know, kind of thing, in terms of potentially moving to a bigger club. We want them to stay, right? But listen, Thomas Frank, he wasn't silly. He understood the situation. He understood the deal, etc. In terms of him moving. Now, obviously, this is before, prior, you know, to him moving to Al Ahly. So of course he knew it, he understood it from, would I say, that sense. But of course he didn't then know that, you know, Toney would then turn up in, you know, Saudi Arabia. But hey, look, they were the ones who were offering the money. I do believe at the time, I think Chelsea were potentially looking at him as well. I think it was between him and Osimhen. But I mean, when we look at the kind of money, and this is where the topic kind of really, kicks off, for most people, when we are looking at the kind of money that, Ivan Toney is potentially going to be on, this is from Soccer Forever. Ivan Toney has signed a lucrative 4-year contract with Al Ahly worth an astonishing £403,000 per week, including bonuses. Now, remember, they do not get tax. Now, as it obviously goes on to say, this still is equivalent to earning 800,000 per week before tax in the UK. Tony's new salary is more than 10 times the 36,000 per week he earned at Brentford. This, for me, is where I feel people are, like I said, I've seen some podcasters speak about it and stuff like that. And big up my boy, because we were talking about this whole like move and this whole thing in terms of, how does it look, and is it a good thing, is it a bad thing? Listen, when you're going from more than 10 times what you're earning, obviously that is going to kind of override quite a lot of factors. It's going to override that regardless. Now, when we look at it from, if you take it into like retrospective, right? So you say, was that Newcastle? Obviously didn't really make the grade there, kind of thing. I think Rafa Benitez was there at the time. Didn't really fancy him. Cool. Obviously, went out on loan and stuff like that. Went away. Of course, then played for Peterborough. Peterborough is where he really started to pick up. In terms of now he's becoming an established football league player. If I'm being honest, obviously he had his loans. I think he went to Scunthorpe. He went to, I see here, Barnsley, Shrewsbury Town, Wigan. He's gone to all of these kind of clubs. Whilst he was obviously at Newcastle, he's landed at Peterborough United. He's played quite a lot of games there, and he scored quite a lot of goals, which then obviously prompts then Brentford to then come in for him. And then of course, they I think Brentford at the time before him, they had that BMW, Benrahma, Ollie Watkins, and what's his name? Mbeumo, was it? Is it those three? I think they had. Yeah, Mbeumo, Benrahma, Ollie Watkins. Yeah. So that was the BMW that they had. And of course, once Ollie Watkins obviously is keeping it moving, Benrahma and that, of course, then you're going to kind of need someone like a Toney to kind of, fill that void. And of course, I think he broke at the time the championship record for goals in a season, just before Brentford then got promoted to the Premier League. So we're talking about a player who was honestly, and I'll show you guys his kind of like record, at Brentford, but also just in a general sense, the kind of, just to give you a kind of, idea of this is the kind of man that, would have been touted, for, by quite a lot of teams. You can see in all of his League One football, 165 games, 65 goals, 21 assists. In the Premier League alone, whilst he was playing for Brentford, 85 games, 36 goals, and then throw in, the 11 goals if you want to. But it's the 36 goals, which I think for someone like him playing for a team like Brentford, I feel like that's very, very good. And then obviously you can see a championship, 45 games, 31 goals. That in itself, phenomenal. FA Cup, 20 games, 10 goals. EFL Cup, not really that great. EFL Trophy, again, not really that great. Championship playoffs, 3 games, 2 goals. Like he's had a decent record. 418 games, 169 goals, 61 assists, if you want to then throw that in. And just for the GA guys, he's over 200 GA in 418 games. That's phenomenal. But even just looking at the goals in itself, 169 goals, I feel that's pretty decent considering when you think about it. Like he didn't really, playing for Newcastle 2000, like obviously signing up with them in terms of joining them. That's 2015. He didn't really get a break, if I'm being honest, for at least 3 years in terms of playing regular football, finding his feet. And that's when he landed, of course, at Peterborough United. And then, of course, then moving on, to Brentford. So we're talking about a guy who's, who was banging in the goals. Do you get what I'm trying to say? He was genuinely banging in the goals. Obviously, you can see here, then gets his chance playing for England as well. So he fulfills that dream. He's a part of the team who then makes the Euro finals as well. Yeah, and bearing in mind, this is coming off the back of a season where Donny's only played like half the season anyway, because he was banned for betting. So it's not even like he's coming off a full season. Yeah, but because Gareth Southgate was going to pick him previously before the ban in itself for like internationals and stuff like that, then he gets banned and all of that kind of malarkey, then kind of happens, so he was always going to pick him, but then that happens. Now, he's available. He's he did okay. Like he could have done a lot better, in my personal opinion, but he's done okay. You know, in terms of him then coming back, he missed quite a lot of football, but then he's been able to do all of that. So then when we're looking at it on the face of it, guys, 10 times more than what he was earning. Like, he's done a lot in football in a general sense. He has done a lot. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Again, he's only 28. He's 20. I say only, but he's 28. Years of age. He's played for England. He's played in the Premier League. He's won trophies, for Brentford, championships and stuff like that. He's been top goal scorer. He's broken records. He's done quite a lot of stuff. So from when he's done all of that, and I guess some people looked at him and was like, of course, listen, let's not be silly. Let's not be dumb. I mean, I'm even looking at the record now, 45 games and 31 goals, in the championship. That's mad. But let's look at it a bit objectively, right? Yeah. Not everybody is going to reach these mad mental heights, that we think that every player can potentially reach or should reach, and et cetera, et cetera. He's done his stint in the Premier League. Ultimately, really and truly, I think, at the time there was, as I mentioned before, there was a little bit of talks about like Chelsea potentially coming in for him. Obviously him, Osherman, I don't really know that situation in terms of what was kind of going on there. And listen, I hear it because quite a lot of clubs were saying, or quite a lot of fans, were saying like, why doesn't he go to like a Arsenal? Arsenal need a striker, a Tottenham before they got Dominic Solanke. I did think that, to be fair. But when a team, forget who the team is, just for 1 second, when a team comes in and said, bro, we'll give you 10 times, more than 10 times than what you was earning here, we'll give you that. We'll give you that, man. No, you know what I mean? No worries, no stress, no nothing. We'll give you that, and we're not gonna bat an eyelid. And potentially, and there's room to make more and stuff like that. Yo, come on, man. Like it's going to be pretty difficult for someone to necessarily turn that down. I'll tell you for free, it's going to be super difficult for someone to be able to turn that kind of money down. Yes, like people need to understand, like there's no elephant in the room when he's not doing, like, it's not like he's gone to Saudi because the league is fantastic and they're paying crazy amounts of money, and or they've just recently been accepted into like Champions League, and we know it's not that. So when people even use that as like a stick to beat him with, I'm like, oh, but we know it's not. Like, we understand that. Like, I don't get why you keep trying to use that as some point scoring system. I hate this point scoring thing that we've got in the football society today. I'm trying to, like, I want people to stamp that shit out, man. If I can help in any such way, that's what I'm here to do, because it doesn't make sense why you're trying to point score. Yes, we know he's gone there more than likely, or not even more than likely, he's gone there for the money. Yes, we understand that. Do you get what I'm trying to say? We get that. That's not a problem. When someone says to you they're going to give you 10 times more, and again, it's all retrospective because it's all down to the individual, right? Not everybody's going to take that money, of course not. Some players, certain ages and stuff like that. I would understand this conversation more if this was like a 23-year-old who's on the up and up, and then he moves to Saudi. When you're like, wow, you got your whole career to bang out football, create some type of legacy in this part of the world, and then move to Saudi to still get, to still eat later on. You know what I'm trying to say? Sometimes, obviously, listen, you might still be able to eat, just not as much as there, but you can still eat for now, and then you can move later on. Tony's done his stint. He's done his thing. And ultimately, maybe and again, I don't know the situation with all the deals. I don't know if the other clubs even came in for him, like the Arsenal, the Tottenhams, and all these other teams, and even teams abroad. Maybe they didn't want to pay the wages that maybe he felt that he wanted to be paid. Because I know for a fact he wasn't looking at the wages that Saudi are giving him and saying, I want that. Of course not. He's not stupid. Yeah, that's Messi, Ronaldo type of money. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So of course they're not dumb. But maybe the other clubs didn't think he was worth the money. That's their problem, not his problem. The players are trying to just understand. Like, players want to get paid what they think they're worth. Like fans are too busy pocket watching. Oh yeah, they're too busy pocket watching some of these players and stuff like that, in terms of thinking to themselves like, why would he think that he can be paid this much? Bro, that's not your business. Like, you should not, as a fan, you have no right to care. You have no right to care. You being a fan makes it irrelevant. You have no right to care about the money that these players are getting paid, ultimately. Because if clubs are willing to pay that money, that's on the clubs. Blame the clubs. Stop blaming the player. The player wants to get X amount. Guess what? You either pay it or don't pay it. Those your options are there. You either pay it or don't pay it. I don't understand like why people always get confused with this whole dynamic in football. If it only gets paid this and you don't want to pay it, no worries, we move. Guess what? Saudi said we'll come and pay you this. We'll come and change your life in ways that no one in Europe is offering you right now. And he's only 28. He signed a 3-year deal. He can still come back to Europe at the end of his contract if he wanted to. If he says, you know what, I've got my money, I've done my thing over there. I was in those 3 years, I was able to make enough money that I was never going to make in 8 years if I stayed another, 8 years in, in Europe and stuff like that and played some football. I can come back now. Still at the age of 31, we've seen it with some of these older strikers, like how good they can potentially be. He will be able to do a job for someone, unless he declines physically, like drastically. I think he'll be fine to come back. And I feel like that's where my frustration kind of lies in this whole, conversation, is that people are too busy like getting on to him and stuff like that, when it's like, bro, like, can you even imagine someone like Toney? Remember, we're not talking about a guy who's already playing for Manchester City or Real Madrid or one of the Bayern Munichs and that. We're not talking about that type of player. We're talking about guys playing for Brentford. I'm trying to say, like, he's playing for Brentford. So the reality is, if a top club are not coming in for him realistically, and even if that top club does come in for him, if he's then got a choice between that and this, come on, bro, like, it makes sense. Obviously, again, like I said, it's all down to the individual. We're not talking about a top player. We're not talking about Kevin De Bruyne. And even if he did it, the guy's won everything. He's done everything in football. His legacy is cemented in the game, regardless of what he does. So we need to stop this kind of angle that we've kind of got with players moving to Saudi. At the end of the day, listen, guys, stop pocket watching. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Just stop pocket watching, man. It doesn't do anything for you, trust me. And obviously he's joining, Al Ahly. They've already got Bobby Firmino. They got Mahrez over there as well. I mean, the Saudi league, honestly, man, they might got a few players on that side of the map. The man got a few players on that side of the map. So it's going to be interesting, man. And listen, the Saudi league, that at the moment, of course, we don't know how things may pan out. We don't know how things are going to go. But from what we're seeing at this current moment in time, like, like with the Chinese league, it felt like it was here today, gone tomorrow. Like, it was so quick, like how it kind of came about, and then just completely I don't think Saudi is going to be like that. I genuinely don't. I feel like Saudi are really, I think obviously because of World Cup and stuff like that in the future, they're really trying to push as much as possible. If they can keep getting, obviously, remember, they're getting majority of the European based players that they are getting. Obviously, they're all older, have done their thing, they've cemented legacies and stuff like that. Of course, they're getting in a few like the Ivan Toneys and stuff like that, but he's still a good striker, over here in Europe, right? But that's the kind of angle that they're going with for now. But I remember Ruben Neves is over there, so they're still doing things slowly. I'm telling you, man, in a few, like, I'll give it's 2024 now. I'd say by about 2027, if they can continue and nothing gets in the way of that, they're going to be such a problem that the Premier League are not going to be able to compete. They can't. How can you compete with the wages? Let's put it right now, they can't compete with the wages. So it is about the footballing and the legacy and blah, blah, blah. Okay, no worries. Guess what? Money can change that. Money can easily change that, right? If Saudi Arabian clubs, and again, I don't know what the situation is with that, if they're even still trying or whatever, if they then can allow those kind of clubs from Saudi Arabia to then participate potentially in like the European competitions, which I don't know how that would work. But if they were trying to do that, for example, and then allowed for them to do that, listen, I promise you right now, it will be game done. Game is done. It's done. It's done. You're not competing. I'd rather move to Saudi. How about that? I'd rather move to Saudi. Everyone will go there because it'll be like, well, the reality is, yeah, I can, there's Premier League, bro. Yeah, but I can still play Champions League. How about that? I can still play Champions League. I can still play Champions League. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, if I can still, play, Champions League, then why am I really stressing myself? You get what I'm trying to say? Like, why am I really stressing myself to play in England? What difference would it make? I can still play in Champions League, can still compete there, can still create some type of legacy in the Champions League, which is obviously the biggest European club tournament that's out there, and I can get paid mad amounts of money to do so. Win-win, really and truly. So listen, man, let's just see what happens in the next few seasons. Big up to Ivan Toney, every time. He done his thing, he's done his thing, and who knows, we're probably going to see this guy again, back in Europe or potentially back in the Premier League in the future. I'm Not certain of it because I don't know how it's going to pan out here, but I'm confident that we'll see him back here anyway. But listen, guys, let me know your thoughts on this whole thing, and just in terms of the whole Saudi, kind of situation, that's kind of been going on, man. But listen, I'll catch you guys on the other side, and big up to everybody. Peace.